Hello, peace, light, and love. Welcome to my talk, reading The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. And today's reading, here's the book again. I like to give credit where credit is due. First of all, peace, light, and love. Our triangle there. Work rules. Today's reading is work rules. How easy it is to dive into roles at work. How easy it is to place other people in roles. Sometimes it is necessary, appropriate, and expedient. I'm just going to get comfortable here. So, there we go. And expedient. But we can also let ourselves shine through our role. There is joy in giving our gift of skill at work and giving ourselves to the task at hand so thoroughly that we experience an intimate relationship with our work. There is joy when we create or accomplish a task and we can say, well done. There is also joy when we are self at work, when we discover and appreciate those around us. The most unpleasant, mundane task can be breezed through when we stop thinking of ourselves as robots and allow ourselves to be a person. Those around us will respond warmly when we treat them as individuals and not job-defined roles. This does not mean we need to become inappropriately entangled with others. It means that whether we are an employer or an employee, when people are allowed to be people who perform tasks instead of task performers, we are happier and more content people. So this reading is about work. Today I will let myself shine through my task at work. I will try to see others and let them shine through too, instead of looking only at their tasks. God, help me be open to the beauty of myself and others at work. Help me maintain healthy relationships with people at work. So this is the way I'd like to share my experience, and I welcome you to share your experiences. At the moment I have a little bit of a problem with YouTube, but so please have a cup of coffee, take a cup of coffee, and listen to this. What is like for you at work? What is it like for you at work? Do you have irritating work colleagues? Well, I work with teachers. Not all of them are teachers. Like there's people who decided they're tired of their jobs and they want to teach. And of course they think teaching is like, a hobby, I guess. I don't know. I remember the words of professor. I had a teacher's training. After I did all my studying, I did teacher's training. Unfortunately, because one course didn't complete it, but nonetheless, I listened very carefully. I was listening to what she said, and she said, teaching is a profession. If you respect yourself, others will respect you as well. So let me share an experience. I complained about a work colleague who used the teacher's room as a place to vent all her emotions. Of course she got supported because I was told the needs of them system are important. So this woman was teaching math and physics and computers 5 times a week. Complete loony bin. Complete. I used to ask her to give me a ride to the train station, and I hear human beings are horrible, and this is the problem when you get a ride with people. And I think about it in a metaphorical sense as well. Once you're in a car with someone, they just think you're their therapist or something. And lately I've found that it used to be the taxi drivers were therapists. Now it's the opposite. They tell you, maybe it's age, something about my personality, that people feel free to share with me things. So, humanity is so bad, and blah, 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 and her boyfriend is a married man. Congratulations for making a wonderful choice, and how to, for all those people who are having affairs with people that are in committed relationships, not a good choice in life, and not going to bring you into becoming a happy, optimistic person when you're harming other people's families. Also, it's nothing to write home about, like, hey, I've got a married man, isn't that great? No, it's not great at all. It's horrible. It's horrible because you're adding to somebody else's misery, and that can never end in a good way. Never. I've been on that side. So now we're going in relationships, you know, like you think you're with someone and then all of a sudden they are at the same time looking around, and then you think, oh, what a fool I was not knowing this was going to happen, right? However, you're saved because a person who will cheat on one person will cheat on another. And even if you won't cheat on another, it's a calculating person who's not connected to the soul. They're not honest. And honesty is something you cannot compromise in life, in my opinion. Honesty leads to trust. They work together. When someone is honest, you can trust them. And in order to build trust, there has to be honesty. You can't compromise on that. So, anyway, so every time I had a big break, I'd have to be subjected to this ranting of this woman about her ex-husbands, and there were stories that, 2 weeks she lived on porridge because she didn't have money. I mean, sorry, but I don't buy that story. On the soup kitchens, I mean, she was so poor. How poor was she? Well, you know what? I don't get this. I just don't get this. I mean, I understand poverty, but when a woman talks about how poor she was and drives a fancy new car, sorry. Wow, how far have you come? And so I complained, and maybe it was 6 in the morning. It used to be those days when I wake up very early in the morning and I didn't look at the time, to my supervisor. And guess what? I actually got a letter. It says that I'm an inconsiderate person. Not from my supervisor, but there's a woman who recruited me to the system, and she was like meeting me. And she did say in the meeting, we really appreciate how you committed, how you're, the word is, I'm very committed to my teaching, and how you take time to really get to know your pupils, and how you, I really appreciate your hard work. But did she actually write that in a letter? No. I got a letter from her telling me that I'm an inconsiderate person. Wow, isn't that nice? I'm not considerate of others. Says a woman at a workplace where one of the women who's supposed to be an officer of education screams at people. Like, people come to her, and I teach adult learners who have had a very difficult background, and she's like screaming at them, go away, I don't want it, I told you, and talks in a crude, horrible language. And I'm very sensitive to language. I mean, that definitely shows that I'm not a very educated person, but she's an officer of education. She sits around looking at a computer screen and screams at people and has meetings. Okay, what I do is I work. I'm like a little ant. I don't sit around in computer screens. I go into the classroom, teach, go into the break. During the break, I photocopy. Often I go over my notes, go back, tuck, 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 and that's how my day goes. Do I have time to complain? No. Sometimes I mention my dogs, and then I get mean comments, as I had from one of a colleague. Ew, dogs. So this is the kind of people I work with. And I realize that a lot of them have narcissistic personality disorder. So once I establish that, I try to give them compliments. Oh, how nice your scarf or your dress is. But listen to this. Trying to be nice. Like, my mom used to do that. She used to give compliments to people in order to break the ice. I picked it up. She always went to people, wow, that dress is so nice. Oh, you look so lovely today. Something Austro-Hungarian Empire. Opa, thank you. I got the newspaper from the nice man. And so, she used to give people compliments, and some people interpret that as weakness. It's like the animal world. There's certain rules. And the wolves, they have little, there's the alpha, and there's the rest of the wolves. And there's a certain order. And when you give compliments, sometimes people interpret it as a weakness, like you are in a weak position and you're looking up to them and saying, wow, you're so great. And especially here in the Middle East, a lot of power positions. And people look at you and they place you in your little brackets of who they think you are. So if you are sending the vibes like, oh, poor me, I have so many problems, not good message, not good message. So I did contact my supervisor and said I needed more hours. The woman who recruited me, sorry. And I did it several times because I sort of had a hard time getting another position because I have these days and they block my week, so I can't get a full-time position. And then she's like, stop bothering me and stuff. And she wrote, inconsiderate, constantly bothers despite being told I don't have anything. And I mean, she's like in charge of this program all over the country, and she recruits teachers, so of course I'm going to ask her for jobs. I have one and I need more, but anyway, so I got a letter. I'm an inconsiderate person with very poor, what is it, how is it in Hebrew? I have very poor skills. I really needed to share this because I have very poor social skills. Wow. Like I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this one screaming at people, the other one talking about herself, and I'm the one who's poor social skills. So I wrote, there's a quote from the Bible, it says, "Haposel bemumo poselhu." People are always going to criticize whatever's wrong with themselves. And just wrote that, and I wrote, that is the most wicked, sadistic letter I've ever received from anyone. Thank God I never had primitive boyfriends, so I never received letters from boyfriends telling me I'm a horrible person. I actually had the opposite because they wanted to get rid of me. You're a wonderful person, good luck in life, and finding a new guy, you're a very attractive person and you're a good, kind person. I've never ever, so these are the kind of letters I've received from people appraising me. I've never ever had anyone telling me I have poor social skills. I was raised by a kindergarten teacher and a manager. My father was extremely social, my mother as well. At home, not. They were kind of busy with themselves, usually. I have to say, may they rest in peace, but they were people that had definitely social skills. My mother was like a schmoozer, as we say in Yiddish. She was always like talking to people and sort of like a huge smile. I can't even imitate it. It's like she had a lot of red lipstick and she would just like, and like this. She was very fake, phony. And at home she was like her real self. And I guess what for me hit home was my mom at home used to be like a witch. She like no makeup, like throwing things. At home she'd just like take out all her anger. You know, usually I was there, I'm the youngest, throwing shoes around, yes. That's a Middle Eastern thing, by the way. Even though my mother is European, she actually threw shoes. And actually in the Arab world, that's considered an insult. I heard somebody threw a shoe at, what president was it? It wasn't Obama for sure. George Bush got a shoe in Iraq from a journalist, I think. He threw a shoe at, took his shoe out. My mom used to do that. She used to throw shoes around. Got mad. She looked like a monster. And then she got her hair together. She had beautiful blonde hair, lipstick, always elegantly dressed, always impeccably dressed. At home, it'd be a mess. Dressed really well. This is the Austro-Hungarian Empire education. Always be dressed well. When you come home, change your clothes. Keep your clothes nice and neat. That's how I was taught. Perfume, lipstick, jewelry, always very, until she got older, and then I saw, this is when I felt things are going bad. She stopped taking care of herself, but she always had a program. She was always going to the gym, exercising. She was a bulldozer. Now, why am I saying this? She always wanted to work. She worked and worked and worked, and my father also always worked on Work was one of the values that they passed down to me. I don't think there were many other values. Like, yes, neat clothes, be presentable to people, be kind, be polite, and language. Language was very important, how you talk, grammatically correct, and it makes me sort of sad. My father's side is Russian, very, very strict. He had this old uncle we used to visit, always, you're not speaking grammatically correct, correcting me, very, very strict people, I think. And this Russian lady at work, she was just like, she's a Cossack. I don't know what she is. I blocked her on my WhatsApp. I just couldn't take it anymore because of all her negativity. It was intoxicating. She'd come in, like I came in with her one time to work, and there's security, and she's screaming at them. "Ah! Why do I have to shut off my phone? Why do I have to do this? Why?" Like the man is just doing his job. Why do you scream at him? Just taking out her anger wherever she could. And to tell you the truth, in Israel, there's a sort of pecking order, and if you're on top, you can do whatever you want. So yesterday I wrote the supervisor, I'm going to go to the big guy on top, because we had a meeting with him, and I'm going to let him know what's going on. I'm going to let him know how I'm committed to work, how I'm coming to work, giving my 200% to my learners, and they know it, they feel it. And especially as an adult learner who comes from an underprivileged background, and it's so important that somebody cares, because I knew at one point it was very important to do well in school, because that's the only way I got attention actually at home. Oh, I got 100 on the test, fantastic, but there wasn't much of an attention, but it was my only way of getting any positive reinforcement, because otherwise I just didn't exist. And also it felt good to do good at school, and I'm good at that. So I want to encourage people to enjoy also learning, to broaden their horizon, to learn new things. Every day I read the newspaper, every day. I read this newspaper since I'm 14 years old. It's a left-wing paper, but it has literature, it has everything. So I wanted to say that about workplace. My mom would not shut up about workplace problems. She worked as a kindergarten teacher. The assistants were always horrible. She's a woman who was brought up by German nannies in Europe. So she was brought up on German classics, Goethe and Heine and literature. Her side of the family that disappeared off this earth forever were all educated, academic. There were several doctors, PhDs, lawyers, and she came from a very educated family, although my grandfather was more like, he liked to learn religious studies more. He was very musical. My grandmother wasn't that educated, but she was a business lady. But her siblings were amazingly educated. I got a list from the Holocaust. They don't know where they are now. They're somewhere. Their ashes are spread somewhere in Auschwitz, but they're educated. Education was a value. My grandfather said to me, there's one thing nobody can take away from you, it's education. So for me, my workplace is education. It's promoting education, helping people to want to learn. Now what happened is that this workplace, that's not the value. The value is power. So I'm a very honest person. Comes from my American upbringing, for sure. I grew up in the States, in the Midwest, and then New York City. New York City wasn't that great for me, but it was also an education. I learned how to deal with bullies. And in the Midwest, it was like paradise. And I knew it, you know when you're happy. I was like in paradise on earth. In the 70s, suburban St. Louis was like, wow, wildlife all around me, very nice children, very nice teachers. And if anybody knows somebody who went to Weber School in St. Louis in 1970s, please let me know. So I grew up that honesty is the best policy, and I speak my mind. And I just constantly clash with all these Mediterranean types. Okay, in Israel, it's a society made up of different cultures. So I'm from European background, and the people I work with, most of them are from Mediterranean countries, from Arab countries, and they bring their own energies. Mostly these kinds of cultures are very power based. They're very and the women that I work with, mostly almost all of them are women. They're very they're like, this is, I can't express, I don't know if there's a word for. They're like little chimpanzees or apes. They me, I'm powerful. They always have to show power. And if they sniff that you are weak, forget it. They're going to pick on you. And it's very important to show power. How do you do it? You don't say anything negative about yourself. Only good things. I have a wonderful family, I have a wonderful husband, I have wonderful children, and if you're divorced, then I have wonderful children, I'm a wonderful mom, everything is great, my life is great, and they go abroad. So what was very pathetic, one of these women who was supposed to work as an education officer, they get recruited to be an education officer, she spoke about her travels. She was just sitting there, I guess, I'm sure they gave it as a mission because nothing is spontaneous. Everything there is planned. So they probably say, mingle with the other teachers. Be human. You know, maybe it's like there's like a booklet and tells them what to do. Some sort of workshop they did. So she's like, oh, I went to Barcelona. You should see the way they sell fruit in the market. Everything's so organized neatly. Wow, that's what you know about Barcelona, one of the most amazing cities. I haven't been there, but if I go to Barcelona, I would like to see the architecture, the world famous architecture. But she looked at fruit, at pineapples, bananas, wow. And now she went to Rome. I wonder what about Rome? In Rome, I think it was the coffee, the apples they sold in the market. I mean, these people can go. This is what's amazing for me, and this is the force of education. That when you get educated, your eyes are open and you learn to look for things. When you know history, you're like, wow, this building is from this time, and there's layers for you. But when you don't have an education, or when you have a very poor education that doesn't teach you to really appreciate history and art and architecture, you just see surfaces. So you see bananas and fruit and things to eat, and you don't see beyond that. You don't see culture. You don't go to operas, you don't go to concerts, you don't go to art museums, you don't go to galleries, you don't even go to the villages to see how people live. You don't learn their language because everything is surface. It's all about going to a restaurant, ordering something, or going to the market and buying food. It's all about food. It's a very low level of survival. You're not beyond that. And for me, that's a primitive person, that they haven't learned to look a bit beyond, look up and see the layers. And because, you know, human beings have several layers in their brain, and there's the one where we are able to not live just now and think about history and culture and that makes all the difference. And that makes all the difference, as Robert Frost said. Being exposed to culture makes all the difference. It teaches you to look all the different layers that life is made up of. So if you are surrounded at work by people that talk about fruit in Barcelona, or if you receive letters that tell you that you lack social skills, the person who sends it lacks social skills. The person who sent it absolutely lacks social skills, because nobody deserves to get a letter like that. Not a person who's kind, doesn't raise their voice, teaches hard, is busy as a bee, constantly gathering information and taking care of her learners. That kind of a person does not deserve to get that letter. And there's this story I want to repeat, maybe I mentioned in my blog before. It's about a rabbi, it can be about a priest, it can be about a Buddhist monk, because all these traditions have this story. A religious man, either Jewish, Buddhist, Christian, whatever, Muslim, travels on the train and somebody's insulting him. And he's not reacting. And when he gets off the train, the person sitting next to him says, "Hey, rabbi," or "Hey, I don't know what it is in Islam, Imam, a Buddhist leader, great Buddhist leader, how come you didn't react to what this person was telling you, all these insults? He said, when somebody gives you a present, this is Christmas also, somebody gives you a present and you do not accept it, who does this present belong to? And that's it. If somebody wants to give you something and you don't accept that, that's not yours. So if somebody's insulting you and saying negative things to you and you don't accept that as something that you take upon yourself and saying, yeah, I'm a bad person, yeah, I lack social skills, yeah, I'm like, then it's not yours, it's that other person's. And in life, people will project. Because rather than deal with the load they have to deal with in life, they will just hurl it on other people. That's what unevolved people do. They take all the packages, they take all this load they have to carry in life, and they say, that's not me, that's you. Like I told you in the blog before, when you point a finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing at you. When you're blaming somebody, 3 fingers are pointing at you. And the key word is awareness. When you are surrounded by people that are uninvolved and not aware of their own selves, it's time to separate, build a wall, surround yourself with good energy. And let us really say prayer that all of you will build a little wall and surround their gardens and cultivate yourself. Make sure you have a beautiful garden that's protected from people who are going to come and try to ruin it. Peace, light, and love. And please write down comments below.